Hello there. You know, I think that I've actually been here for a few minutes now, and I've probably been talking to myself because I didn't start the stream properly. But let's start it now properly. Hello there. Price of Reason here with a series review. We're going to talk today about Quantum Leap, episode 11 in the second season. And it's great to see people here. So basically, this episode was directed by Deborah Pratt, and if you saw, I was lining up some slide here. I was saying that Deborah Pratt on the original show did a fantastic job with the writing. I have a lot of respect for the work that Deborah did on the original series. The only problem is these days she's attached to the series as some type of executive producer, but most of the time the reason they really want her is to do, and I was just sharing that article prematurely, they want her to do articles like this. Uh, Executive producer Deborah Pratt is moving diversity forward through sci-fi. That's why they hired her. They could use her knowledge about Quantum Leap. They could talk to her about all the excellent episodes that she's actually written or been one of the writers of. The years of being some kind of supervisor producer on the original show. So much experience that they could really tap into that well of information and of talent, but that's not what they do with her. I mean, given she's probably not as innovative today as she was 40 years ago. I mean, 35 or whatever it is years ago, but still, even so, I think that she probably has something to contribute, but they're not never really paying attention to her ideas. They have their own propaganda they push, and for her, I think this is a good paycheck when you're in your 70s, just like with Ernie Hudson. When you're kind of older, somebody says, "Hey, you're going to get a check every week." All you need, and what they do with her and with Ernie Hudson, a lot of the times, if there's like a press conference where they need to do press, they roll them out and they come out and they say how diverse it is and how great it is, and that's part of their agreement. A lot of times when you get a contract from these type of studios, press is mentioned there, and not only is it mentioned there, they also expect you to do the press that they want. So I'm not mad at Deborah Pratt. I'm grateful for the great work she did back in the day. She directed this episode, but even though she directed it, it's not like she has her own team of creatives here. She's basically walking in as a gun for hire in a setup where all the people are the same people that are making this crap every week, from the writers to the people that film it and do all that other stuff. So maybe she can bring something to the table in terms of direction, maybe giving some guidance to the actors, which is something that she knows about. But aside from that, I mean, unfortunately, as much as I like her, it's not like this episode really benefits greatly from her presence. But let's get into that episode right now. I also want to say quickly hello to Matthew McGee and to Tornadoes and to Tex Rogers. Hey guys. So now let's share. Let's do a little bit of sharing from this episode. Share. Okay. Let's go over this episode. Hopefully you can see it. Yep, I see you can see it. So let's go over it. It starts off with previously on Quantum Leap. You have James Frain, the guy who plays an evil guy on a lot of shows. He showed up. They're doing a flashback. Sensitive douche and Ben's former disappointed fiance may not be getting married. And then it starts off. Ben is in a phone booth. He gets a call, and it turns out that it's some kind of source that wants to talk to him about some kind of important story that lives are in danger or something like that. And he kind of leaped into this situation. I'll I'll tell you what. Sorry, somebody in the chat made me laugh. Tex Rogers here says, when there's a recap, you know it's more like a soap opera. Unfortunately, you're right. You're so right. The original show, their recap was just either in the earlier seasons, you had a little bit of narration just because people didn't fully understand the concept. And I think it was a way to revive them on what the show is about. But nothing you talked about in the previous episodes in the original show, even in the earlier seasons with the narration, it didn't make a difference to the new episode, really. It was just a way kind of to ease in new viewers or something along those lines. In any case, back to this thing. He's a news reporter guy, and he works for this other reporter. He's an assistant, production assistant, whatever it is. She's the producer, supposedly. She's the bigger honcho that he works for. Her name is Connie Davis, and I mean the reporter. I don't remember the actress's name. Although, to be fair, I thought that this actress was fine. Relatively speaking to some of the low level acting I see on this show, I actually thought that she was decent. It didn't help her much because the screenplay was terrible, but at least she tried. I appreciate when an actor tries, even when they're giving something crappy and they just at least try their best. Anyhow, he tells her that somebody spoke to him on the phone and it's a source and something like that. And then she says, we don't have time for that. This is a big story for me. There's a pumpkin here. And then when they go to the pumpkin, this guy is bragging at how great his pumpkin is that he used weed killer. Meanwhile, his wife is kind of coughing, uh, which is like, I don't know. It was just so. I'm not saying it's fine to do a planting and payoff. It was just a bit obvious. The second I saw her cough, it's like obvious that that is very crucial to the plot. It wasn't done in a nonchalant way. I like it when shows kind of think of a way that's a little more smooth and not as obvious, but it is what it is. Brian Ailes here says one of the dumbest leaps ever. I have tornadoes here that said hi. Yes, this is actually a very dumb leap, and the thing is that this idea, like on occasion, there could be an idea that has some kind of potential, but between having a potential and kind of fumbling the story at every corner, like this show does, that really is annoying. So they do this thing, they film it. I mean, here's another thing that annoyed me. He's never been a producer of news in the '80s. I mean, okay, maybe he's quick, understanding how a video camera works and he doesn't need any help and he knows how to set up. But what would have been more interesting, since they especially later explained that Addison always wanted to be a reporter, maybe she says, I once interned at a news station. You got to do this. You got to say this now. You got to tell her action. You got to do anything. Just make it seem like you need to know something, because he's just suddenly here and he's like, yeah, I'm a producer of a news. So I might understand that if any person in the world, you told them now that they can be a producer of a news show, they just become the producer. I don't know if that makes any sense. I just feel like, I'm not saying it was rocket science. Uh, yeah, I'm not saying it was as rocket science, but yes, I mean, on the original show, a lot of times there would be something that Al knows how to do, and he goes, "Sam, you have to do this and this. I once spent a summer with a nice senorita where we talked about this and that, and I learned this skill. Something, just do something. You know what I mean?" But nope, they just he's the producer now. He just knows how to do everything. It's not even a big deal. And the fact that they later thought of the girlfriend, the former disappointed fiance, telling him that she was doing this and they couldn't even connect the dots, just shows you how poor they are at storytelling. Like, they don't understand the basics of screenwriting. Anyhow, next thing you know, they're standing, of course, next to the thing, the weed killer and whatever, trying to figure things out. And this is another thing that annoys me. uh they keep telling each other in every scene they see each other how great this reporter is. She's so great. She's so stunning and brave. She's so great. Why don't you show us why she's great and shut up? You know what I'm saying? Show us she's a good reporter. If you need to every scene say how great she is, then there's something wrong with this screenplay. And it's not just once. I mean, every second they're like, "Oh, she's so stunning and brave. She's so stunning and brave." Why? I mean, there's nothing that she does that justifies the stunning and brave thing that we see here. Anyhow, she tells, "Oh, she was such a legend. She was like the new Barbara Walters." It's kind of funny because I think they're referring to Connie Chung. They're talking about New York. There was Connie Chung there. I don't know if this is supposed to be Connie Chung, but obviously, they did a bit of swapping here. But it's fine. I don't care. I mean, yeah, you don't have to do the same thing. It's a fictional thing. Now you have this guy, the bad guy. This annoys me so much because you can tell it wasn't well planned and it was a last minute twist, not for us, but a last minute twist for the writers. This is sort of, I think they're presenting him as sort of an Elon Musk type of businessman. He has all this technology. He's working with the government, and he basically is annoyed because Ian, he gave Ian his chip, but then when the chip started kind of stealing data and wasting the government's electricity, and then Ian tried to put a stop to it. Ian is the random office guy person. That's his official name, but I'm just trying to get into the show thing. So basically, apparently, random office guy person asked this guy, this Elon Musk, discount Elon Musk, he asked him for a chip. The guy gave him a chip. Now, at some point, when he did all this kind of naughty stuff, if this guy was legit, if this guy was a guy that the Pentagon does business with, that he's so important to the security of the United States, then I think in that case, random office guy person would have felt very comfortable telling Magic or sensitive douche that this was happening. The problem is that I just think that they didn't think it through at that point. They just kept showing the girlfriend. They're like, the girlfriend works for another woman, and the woman works for another woman, and this one works for another one. They tried to make it seem all secretive and a classic J.J. Abrams maneuver. Like, who's in charge here? There's some other mystery man behind it. But at the end, once they explained who the mystery man was, it's nothing. If he does all this business with the U.S. government, why not just do this above board from day one? The other thing is, even if he is doing business with the US government, I don't think he can arrive at a multi billion dollar top secret, super top secret facility and just come in unannounced like he did in the last episode. And another thing, even the girlfriend, I don't even know if it's supposed to be the girlfriend of random office guy person. She basically gets on the phone in the previous episode and she tells him, listen, random office guy person, there's no fooling this guy. You can never fool this guy. Well, if you can never fool this guy, then why did you try to fool them to begin with? Why didn't you just go and put this thing together? Uh, I won't. We'll get into it more when we see him more through the episode. It's just this manufactured conflict is just annoying, in my opinion. I'll look at a few comments here. Yes, let's see quickly. Just we have. I think that I think the Tex Rogers was agreeing me that he can't just walk in here. And how is how is Addison in the Imogene chamber holding a coffee mug? Doesn't hold a candle to Al smoking a cigar. I mean, Al was a guy's guy. It was a fun situation. He used to come in there. He'd smoke cigars. He. You could tell he was partying between the leaps and hanging out with the ladies. That's what made that show kind of fun to watch. In this case, you have his former disappointed fiance talking about her feelings every second. Certainly not the same type of fun. But in any case, let's try to move on from this. This guy shows up and he's all kind of pressuring them. He's telling Magic everything that random office guy person did. He took this, he took the chip, he took that, he took this. If I were Magic, I'd say, listen, I'm gonna arrest you now. First of all, this is a top secret facility, and you're not allowed to be here. Second of all, you tried to steal data from the U.S. government. Your partner, people that you have a partnership with, that you're doing equipment with, you tried to steal data. You tried to steal electricity that was basically worth billions of dollars of electricity in the surge here, and you tried to pull a fast one on the U.S. government. I'd bring a few marshals in there, and then the guy would be like, "Oh, you know what? It's okay. Why don't you just use the chip?" You know what I mean? Let's just say that this is a situation, even though you can tell this is poorly conceived, that this is a last minute. When they invented this whole stupid chip thing, they didn't know how they would finish it. And that's really the problem with this show. It's like with Martinez, it's like with every single thing that they do. It's they think of some idea, they don't think what they're going to do with it, and they think they're going to J.J. Abrams their way out of it. Now, even J.J. Abrams is not good at J.J. Abramsing his way out of it. That's how we get stuff like how Lost ended, or went off a cliff, or the rise of Skywalker, or things like that, because he's J.J. Abrams. He kind of can conjure up something initially, but then he doesn't know what to do with it. But these guys are discount J.J. Abrams, which is really the worst thing to be. Like they want to be him, and he himself is one of the biggest, in my opinion, creative con men ever. So they want to be like him, and they're sort of not even as good as him. That's the level of writing we're dealing with on this show. Uh, in any case, sorry, I know I'm a bit grumpy. This episode made me grumpy. I won't lie to you. This thing is so stupid. So then he says, he's all like tough and says this and that and this and that. I mean, what's he even gaining here? What's this guy's end game? What does he even want? You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, he has a lot of money and influence at the Pentagon. So why was this even a secret? He could have just told the Pentagon from day one, listen, you have a problem here. I'm going to give you a chip. You're going to give me the data. I'm working out a deal with you. And maybe they would have said, okay. You know what I mean? It would have made more sense if random office guy person struck a deal with a shady guy that actually nobody knows about for maybe some rogue organization that nobody's ever heard of. That would have at least been a little cool because they're do espionage on the American government, and random office guy person is stuck between a rock and a hard place. But that's not the case. They went for the dumb, dumb, dumb that they usually go, and really, I'm sorry here. It's really hard for me to take random office guy person seriously here when he wears his finest pearls and opera dress to the office. I mean, again, people can do whatever they want in their private lives. I just feel like at a serious military facility, I don't know that this is how people would dress or act. They certainly don't act like they're in anything military. Not at all. Huh. In any case, back to let me check if there's let's see if anybody's still here. I've been so annoyed. Uh, the whole plot made no sense. I agree, Tex. Uh, Yeah, I mean, also, just to I looked at a few of the comments here. Yes, the present day stuff certainly doesn't help. I mean, when we look at this thing with Ben and the reporter, there's an idea there that if you actually gave it time to breathe and developed it, and it wasn't written by idiots, then there's something to work with there. That's something that's okay. There's a crime happening, something that people's lives are in danger. He's a reporter and he wants to uncover it. Instead of focusing on that element of the story, they have to shove these stupid conversations in hallways with that Pentagon thing that doesn't make sense. None of the people writing this show have ever been near a military base. They haven't even watched movies about military. Forget about being in the military or being next to one. They've never even watched a movie about the military. They think that the military is is like The Young and the Restless. That's what they think happens there. Uh, they wear their finest, fanciest dresses, and talk about their feelings or who knows what. Anyhow, let's continue with this drivel. So Ben is talking on the phone, and I'm trying to think who he called here. Oh, he's trying to call, okay, so Ben's disappointed fiancée before, I believe she tells him that, the diner girl that he keeps sleeping into, that, her husband was gonna die, so he tried to save her, but then even though they used his advice to save the life of the guy, apparently a year later, he got into a car accident, so Ben feels like he actually didn't do anything. Well, first of all, you gave him another year, that's still something, but in any case, uh, I guess you wanted to warn, the diner girl again about this situation, something that he just seems to forget later on in this episode, I think. I think that's what he wanted to do. Wasn't he trying to call her? Any case, as he's there, somebody knocks him over the head with a pistol, and, again, this is also very weird. He's like, "Oh, you better not do the story, stay away from it," and he hits him on the head. I'll get back to why this is stupid soon, but what we have then is you have them at the office here. They're making an excuse for why he got this thing in his head. They're sort of BSing their boss. And at this point, Ben is basically telling his boss, listen, this is a real story here. Should really look into it. But she doesn't seem to be taking it very seriously at this point. And then you have Ben's disappointed fiance, and they're trying to piece together this thing. I'm trying to think if they already, I don't know how soon they get to it, but I know that they're looking at some kind of company that does. Do they already know it here? It's a company that the weed killer company. Anyhow, they're trying to figure out what this stupid weed thing is, and, meanwhile, in present day, uh, sensitive douche arrives, and he says, "Hey, The Department of Justice sent me to investigate a random office guy person. Now, again, this is so stupid. This is so stupid. I can deal with some coincidences, but come on, it can't be that this guy is the only guy in the army. They want like an impartial investigation, and they sent a guy that just worked there 5 seconds ago. Plus, who is this guy? They, from day one, they're building up sensitive douche as this big guy. They never even explained who he is, what he does. He just now he's here, now he's there, now he's in charge of this, now he's in charge of that. Positions in the military don't work like that. So that one also is kind of stupid. Again, once in a while you can have a coincidence, but sometimes when a coincidence is just when your whole episode is just built on coincidences every second and there's nothing really holding the screenplay together, it starts becoming annoying. And the fact that he's the one investigating, but then at the same time she has the feelings because she broke off the engagement. This would, if you put this on Young and the Restless, I think some housewives are going to probably say, this is too much. Too much. You're overdoing it with the relationship drama here. It's that bad, and it's nonsensical. It's dumb. At least on a show like those soap operas, that's the genre, and at least they're good at building up even those things. This is just dumb crap. So she asks him, "Oh, please, sensitive douche, do something to help." Then she goes in, and they start looking at the different things, and here's where they figure it out that it's this Herba company that has weed killers, and the weed killer is poisonous. It was under a different name, whatever it is. That's the plot. That basically his source was trying to tell him that he knows that this company is going to create something that actually kills thousands of people. Their weed killer, they're going to get sick from it. So he goes and he explains to this stunning and brave reporter that every second he says, "Oh, stunning and brave she is." And initially she's hesitant, but after they start looking at the details, she starts getting a little more interested because they see that something fishy is going on. And then she says, "Well, who was your source that called you at the phone booth that day?" He says, "I don't know," because he really doesn't know. But then she calls a police officer she knows and just says, "Hey, I need from that payphone, whoever made the call." That's fine, I guess, that one segment. But again, once she does it, you have like Ben and his disappointed fiance just smothering her with compliments. "Oh, she's the best. She's so stunning and brave. I can't believe she thought to do that. You can tell that she's the best reporter that ever lived." It's like, guys, just shut up and do the episode. This is not. If you need to keep building up this character, then there's something wrong. Sorry, but that did annoy me. Okay. Well, next, what happens? They go, they do the thing. The boss, maybe they don't fully tell him what's going on yet, but she's already saying, "Okay, let's go." Now, this is dumb. Again, another coincidence. She says, "Okay, well, let's go to where this guy's office is. There's only a certain amount of places he can eat lunch. We'll just find him there." I mean, this isn't a city area. I'm sure there's more than one place to eat lunch. I mean, they just happen to know exactly where he is and they just found him. This doesn't look like good reporting or good journalism to me. If she was more savvy, she'd start calling his assistant and maybe doing something more sneaky, like thinking, "Oh, I'm calling from this and this company, from maybe a company they know they work with." And she says, "Hey, I was asked by this guy to call him, maybe some CEO, to give him a call. Do you know when he's coming back from lunch? When does he usually go?" Find out some details. Try to find out when he goes to lunch. I mean, how do you even know? They just appear. They appear on the street and he's just there. I'm sorry, but this really annoyed me. This is another one of those coincidences. Just quickly, hi Ishmael, hi Sierra Tan, hi Brian, hi Tornadoes. Um, I Text says, "Good point. I've noticed that more since you pointed it out." I don't know which one you're talking about, but thank you. In any case, uh, this thing that they arrived where he was eating lunch is just stupid. Now, if let's say the whole episode was great and they cut a corner, they needed to explain it, they didn't show how they did it, and they just found him at lunch, not even explaining anything, to just pop up, I'd say, you know what, I'll let it slide. But once the whole episode is built on contrivance after contrivance, and every contrivance is built on another contrivance, you're not left with anything here. Nobody made the minimal effort of storytelling because they're not writers. One of the main people here that's in charge of supervising writing is an activist. Not that I'm saying, in my opinion, that they're an activist. If you ask them, they'll tell you that they're an activist. That's the type of people they hire here. So once they're here and they go, well, you got to help out. You're the one, and he says, well, I wanted you to take care of it. I'm not going to do that. Sometimes in this company, when people do stuff like that, they disappear. Implies that maybe he'll get killed or something like that, even though it's his brother. Now, this is another thing. You have a security guy that beat up Ben in the parking lot. You want to tell me that he knew who Ben was and what Ben was doing, but he couldn't figure out that this guy is involved? Do you get what I'm saying? If this guy's so scared, somehow he picked up that he needs to find Ben in a parking lot and he couldn't figure out that this guy is their mole. Plus, if he already has his eyes on Ben, isn't he now watching this conversation? Isn't he? I'm not saying, maybe they could get by him, but I just feel like something about that doesn't completely sit well with me, that this guy is so scared that they're keeping an eye on him, and meanwhile they have a whole security thing and they're not even keeping an eye on him. It's just kind of weird. In any case, he says, I'm signed on that memo too. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to do this. Um, so, in any case, next thing you know, he gets into his car, which of course we see the Herbicore, whatever it is. He drives off. And now what they do is they go to the person that said that the weed killer was great. And they tell him, listen, your wife, she's suffering because she's sick now because of the weed. We need to take her to the best doctor. And somehow, because she's been coughing, which they actually did the setup for that at the beginning, she agrees. I still think it was done very, very bluntly, cheaply, not nuanced. It was clear from the first moment, the way she was coughing, that this would become relevant later. A good exposition like that, you do it in a way that you don't really think about it. Um, there were a bunch of different ways to do it, but they did it in the most obvious and dumb way because they're just not writers. They probably looked online. There's probably a book like writing a TV show for dummies, and that's what they use. I mean, honestly, I don't even know if they have that writing for dummies book, because if they did, maybe they'd still do something better than this. In any case, what happens here is while they're here, another coincidence, another convenience. She says, "Hey, I know we're doing this now, but right now I just got a call that there's a special story that they want me to cover about an explosion of a car in Midtown or whatever it is." And he's like, "Great, let's go there." Now, it's implied that for years after she was in New York, for years they only let her do Pumpkin, and now out of all the days they want her to go to that car explosion. If she's not the homicide lady, if she's not the car explosion lady, if her job is that she's a pumpkin lady, why would now she get that? Now you can say again, one-time convenience. Everything else is written well. They took a shortcut on this one, but it's another shortcut. It's yet another shortcut in a series of crappy shortcuts. So next thing you know, he films, and of course he notices the car. It's the Herbicore guy, and then you hear the plate, and they have to do the whole flashback as if I couldn't remember that this is the same idiot from before. In any case, she sees that, and this now she's completely fallen apart, and her boss is looking at it, and she doesn't tell the boss about the story about the Herbicore. Now, this is another thing that annoys me. She gets upset. She fires him, and she says, "Don't you understand? When I was in New York, I had a source, and the source got killed, and I was responsible." First of all, after all of the stunning and brave compliments that this lady got, when you're going to break wide open a story that could save people's lives, I'm not saying it's okay if somebody gets killed in the process or committed suicide or whatever the problem was. I'm not saying that that's good. I'm just saying that if you're in this business and you're on the top of your game, exposing these kind of things that could potentially have lives on the line, I don't think you're sitting around whining like this. Meaning, this whining of her character doesn't fit with the way she was described. If she was like the ultimate investigator, I think that she would have thicker skin than falling apart now. And now, in addition, this news story, basically, she saw a woman who had cancer because of this thing, and she was told that thousands of people may die if they don't do something. And she's now weeping over some guy who's one of the people that actually committed this crime. Basically, he may be a good whistleblower, but in reality, he actually is an accomplice to killing thousands of people. So this is where she picks her thing. This is where she's now whining and crying and weeping. I mean, they all said she was so stunning and brave and strong. This was the one part that she should have been strong. And maybe in the episode, you see that she's sort of getting back on the horse. She'd say, no, maybe in the early episode, she's more timid about it because of her mistakes in the past. But here she kind of tells him, no, let's follow through. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices. Show her that, not that she's either complimenting her every second. Show that she's that character that you said that she is. Sorry, ranting. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but it is what it is. In any case, next thing you have here is that she whines and whatever, and she fires him. I think she not only whines, she's like, "You're fired. I don't even want you to work here. Talk to the hand. I'll see you later." Or whatever she says to him. And then you have the investigation between Sensitive Douche and Random Office Guy Person. I assume that this was supposed to be a very serious soap opera scene. I found myself chuckling and being distracted by the fact that the guy still is wearing his opera dress to the office. He's talking and he wants you to take him seriously. And again, I can't tell people what to do in their own private life. This is supposed to be some, top secret military situation. These people are not acting like it. This is a weird interpretation of what the military is. None of this makes any sense. Didn't they say something that he would have maybe a representative, a legal? I don't know if they address it. It doesn't even matter. In any case, what happens here is that Random Office Guy Person tells him, listen, nobody wanted to do the right thing, and I was the only one that cared about Ben enough to do the right thing. But I mean, what's the right thing? If you wanted to work with a guy who was already working with the Pentagon, why not do it on the up and up? And the answer to that is because they didn't know it when they made it up at the beginning of the season, because they're writing from week to week. This is carrot and the stick storytelling. They don't have actual writers. So now they're cleaning up the mess that they themselves created, and they're just not good enough. They're not in the league. You know what I mean? This isn't the team of Breaking Bad writers who maybe could, write their way out of a problem that they themselves created if such a problem were to ever arise. These guys, to begin with, don't know how to write, and they don't know how to write themselves out of a corner. Anyhow, we're back here, and they start. Ben and his former disappointed fiance start talking about their feelings. He's kind of down because he couldn't help this guy. He couldn't help the diner girl's husband. He couldn't help the guy who was the whistleblower. He couldn't help anybody. Again, in the original show, I always felt like Sam in most cases. I'm not saying there weren't moments that maybe he was down and maybe Al encouraged him, but in so many cases, I felt that there was this kind of can-do heroic attitude, whereas always Ben has this kind of defeated attitude. Look at me. Look at his face. I can't do anything. And then this former disappointed fiance has to show up and say, no, it's okay. And then she also mentions that she broke it off with the other guy, and she always wanted to help people. What does one have anything to do with the other? He's like, why did you break up with your with Sensitive Douche? She says, I had to break up with Sensitive Douche because I wanted to help people. What does one have to do with the other? I mean, I don't even understand the motivations of these characters. It's just a bunch of nonsense. I have to stop watching or I will start drinking heavily. That's Ted Harrington. Well, we're trying to get get through this together. Ishmael Facts. Sierra 10. Sam was always balanced out by Al and vice versa. They don't seem to do this at all. I agree. They don't seem to do anything at all here. Probably good I only bought original DVDs online. I don't know what the context of that was, but back to what we're looking at here. He's a loser. She has to, again, tell him. And then she says, oh, but you know what? Robbie still died in the original timeline. Like, why wouldn't you say that sooner? But whatever. So she had to speak about her feelings and only come up with that later. In any case, she tells him that, so he starts putting the pieces together. And he goes, well, you know what? Maybe he's not even dead. They only found his wallet. I mean, if they only found his wallet there, wouldn't it mean from the beginning that he wasn't there? I looked at the car. The explosion didn't look like one that would just make an entire body disappear. I mean, even with an explosion like that, there would be something left. I don't think that that you'd have an explosion like that car, and you just say, "Well, there's only a watch here, so he must be dead." I don't think it works that way. Even in 80 something, whatever. I don't know what I'm trying to remember. It was 1980 something. Who doesn't matter. I'm going with the 80s of some kind of night. Not that anything happens here that even suggests that I know exactly what time, what day it is. You can all tell me. I think it was the 80s. I'm gonna go with the 80s. Tex, you can answer this. Is it the 80s? I bet Tex knows the year of this. You can answer in the comments what the year is. Anyhow, she tells him that, he puts it together, he's like, "Wow, they only found his watch, so he's alive. Good, you're supposed to be the most smart physicist in the world, and you just came to the conclusion now." So now they're putting it together like Sherlock Holmes and Watson. If Sherlock Holmes and Watson had, a learning disability. And then, they show up at this lady's van, she's like, "Where's the best and most stunning and brave woman?" I will say this, and this maybe I'm gonna be hesitant here. Maybe this is the only thing that I felt that perhaps Deborah Pratt was able to contribute, is that the delivery of Raymond Lee and this actress in this scene, if I just isolate this scene, I felt that the acting was a little bit, more focused, like maybe somebody actually pushed them in some direction to execute the scene acting-wise in a way that's a little more satisfying than some other scenes I see here. But within the writing and context of this episode, even if they executed the scene fine, it's still a stupid episode with a poorly written scene. Doesn't really matter. But perhaps Deborah Pratt, from her experience, at least knew how to bring that out. I'll also say that this actress that plays the reporter, she's not doing a bad job. The script is betraying her, not her acting. And I'll say that Raymond Lee, if you put an actor next to him that knows how to act, he'll be all right. No, he's no Scott Bakula, but he'll be okay if there's enough people around him that are not clueless. But that's why I think acting wise, this one scene kind of works for a second, but amidst an episode that's so poorly written, it just doesn't make any difference. Anyhow, he says something more emotional to her. He says, "Hey, you got to believe in yourself. You got to be the you, you go girl," whatever he says to her, and she says, "Yeah, yeah, let's do that." And then they decide they're going to actually do something. Now, back, I can't believe they keep going back and forth here. Instead of building that investigation story, we have to see people sitting in an office and blabbing about crap that nobody cares about. Nobody cares. A manufactured crisis with that stupid chip and that discount Elon Musk, sensitive douche being the investigator. This is something that I still will say that if I put this on Days of Our Lives, I think that people would already think that it's not plausible on that show. Anyhow, uh, so sensitive douche tells Magic, "Listen, I understand that we need random office guy person because he's good at there's that secret algorithm that nobody knows where it came from, and he has to solve it, so we can't let him go." What a bunch of nonsense. In any case, because of the stupid algorithm, which is a different mystery box, J.J. Abrams style, that they introduced a few weeks ago, that nobody cares about that one, and they probably haven't even thought it through. They don't even know what they're going to do with that. Maybe by now, maybe next episode. But that's just another dumb thing they introduced. Anyhow, there's the algorithm. He says, "Oh, random office guy person can't leave," and then he goes, "Well, I need somebody's head." So Magic thinks to himself, what's he going to do? He understands it. But the good news is, I mean, it seems like what's his name? Discount Elon Musk is going to somehow play ball with them, but he wants somebody's head or something like that. Now, of course, they've managed to find the whistleblower, that he's alive. They managed to hunt him down. Again, very conveniently. I'm trying to remember. I honestly blocked this out. I don't know what tactic they used to find him, but at the end of the day, it felt like another convenience. And at this point, there's so many of them that you're just kind of like, whatever. You don't think about it anymore. It's just poorly written show. So at this point, he tells them, "Listen, there is a safe inside the company, and in that safe, there's a document that'll prove that I'm right and that they're all bad." Now, I mean, initially, what he said is that he didn't want to be the whistleblower because then you would see documents with his name on it. But now he's telling them that they should get the document. So why is he even hiding? Something here doesn't make sense in the whole logic. of the character. If he wanted to run away, he would have run away. If he wanted to help them, he would have helped them. Here, he's sort of doing both and neither at the same time. But again, dumb nonsense. They say, okay, they have a perfect idea. And this part is the ultimate insult, in my opinion, of the show. This part at the end, the final grand finale here is one of the dumbest things. By the way, I see all your comments. When we're done here, I'm gonna have a discussion with you guys in the chat. It's just I'm trying to get through this thing. I hope that by the time I'm done, probably you're all going to have some whiskey and drink, and you'll disappear by the time I'm done describing this episode. I'm going to be talking to myself. Maybe Tex will be here. So in any case, this dumb show, they're all coming in like to take down this company. And they came up with a perfect idea. Because this brother supposedly thinks that his brother exploded in the car with no body and just a wallet, which is dumb. These guys are coming to interview him about his company and about his brother, and he wanted to do that. Now, in reality, this again doesn't make sense. This company employs a special fixer type of security guy who was already on to Ben and to this exact news crew for meddling in some investigation. You think that he would let these people arrive at the office and he wouldn't tell the brother, listen, this is a trap. You don't want these people to arrive here. I already took care of one of them. It seems like they're digging here and you do not want them here. They are onto us, and we don't know what this guy, let's say they believe the brother is dead, which is also nonsense. We don't know what the guy told them. If they're here, they know something. That's why they're here. You do not let them in. You bring 70 lawyers to stand there up front and get rid of all these people. That's what a real company would have done, especially this one. It's supposed to be some big company with big money. You know what I mean? Some big corporation. It's as if they're running a lemonade stand here. But whatever. These guys show up, and they just show up and they're like, here, yeah, we're doing the interview. And the brother is so happy. He has no clue. What could they possibly want to interview him about? They loved his brother and want to speak to him about that. Sure, that makes sense. So they keep talking and doing this fluff thing and all this other stuff. And he seems really relaxed that his brother died or whatever it is. This is also a stupid situation. They just waltz into this office. Waltz in. Nobody's even stopping them. They just walk into this dumb office and they just say, okay, how do we open this? And then chief security officer lady who never does anything, and if she does, it's usually something stupid or harmful, but finally they gave her something to do in this screenplay. He asked her, and apparently she's an expert in safe, and the way that she tells him to crack the safe is that he needs to bang on the safe and the safe will open, because that model has a glitch that if you bang on the safe that it just opens the door. Talking about conveniences, this is already it's like conveniences on steroids. I mean, really, he bangs on it and it opens it, and then he does it and it works. And of course, after he does that, and meanwhile she's doing this kind of thing, she's interviewing him and doing all that stuff, putting him in the hot seat. Where is that scene? There's some scene that okay, sorry. I skipped it because this is a really dumb scene. So here, a guy shows up with a gun, and he says to him, you better put that down. I'm going to shoot you here. Really, in an office building with a press next door? I mean, this doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense that they let those press people in to begin with. It doesn't make sense that he would shoot him when the press is there next door and they're doing an interview. Nothing here makes sense to me. And he also knows that this guy is part of that press crew, and that press crew is there interviewing his boss. I mean, what's he going to go kill all the press people there in an office that's supposedly a legitimate company that has employees in it? No, this isn't a lemonade stand with 3 people working there that you can kind of do whatever you want. This is supposed to be a big business here. They were willing to release a product to the market where thousands of people would die because that would be cheaper for them based on the money they're making from the product. Imagine how much money this company is making if they can pay thousands of people just a fee to go away and they don't even care if they're going to sue them. This is supposed to be some big time company. Again, the people writing this have never worked at a company. They don't know what companies do, how they operate. It's as if you took a 5-year-old child and let them write what they think a company does or what they think the military do. If that makes any sense. Hope somebody is still here. Yeah, I see a few guys are still here. Tex is here. In any case, I'm just kidding. I see a few Ishmael and Sierra Tan and a few other people. Ted Harrington. In any case, this dumb thing. And then this is the only part that makes sense, that he knows information about him, and his disappointed fiance, his former disappointed fiance, says, "Oh, his mother's name is this. She likes to play bingo, whatever it is." That was one of the only moments that maybe is reasonable. But again, within an episode that's so dumb, using some information that you from the future, that you know something about the person, it just, there's nothing special here. This isn't enough to make a good episode. This is a terrible episode with 20 seconds that made some kind of sense. Anyhow, uh, he manages to neutralize, and then Ben takes something and strikes him in the face. And once he strikes him in the face, she's interviewing him, and Ben conveniently brings the document that this guy did all this bad stuff. And she becomes, now she's the best reporter ever. She's really exposed him, but it feels in a way that's so unearned. It feels so stupid and contrived. There was a story to be told here without all that present day stuff. A reporter that used to be kind of at the top of their game, that now they're kind of at the bottom of the barrel, and he finds a story, and together they rebuild the career. And by the end, this woman is on top of her game. There's a good story here. It's just the way they did it was so bad, so poorly written, that you just can't take it seriously. You can't, a show can't live on a idea that's acceptable. I won't even say great idea, but sometimes this show, it doesn't have to be rocket scientist. Rocket science. A lot of the original series, you have very simple situations, very simple setups, that Sam is here, Sam is there. It's really built on good writing, on good acting, on a certain atmosphere that's created, on the passion of the people making the show. None of that is happening here. This is a bunch of literal activists, that in this case, they did a little less activism. I'm sure there's some activism here. I mean, these guys, of course, you know, the bad guys are all whatever. And, listen, I'm not saying that bad guys can't be of this skin color or whatever, but I'm just saying it's very curious. These type of shows always want to show a certain demographic in a very negative light, whereas usually there's other people that are very stunning and brave. Um, I wouldn't notice if it didn't happen every second, that between him being a woman, between him being here, being there, there's kind of an underlying thing going on here. Again, just because I see it so often. In any case, uh, once he helps her with his career and whatever, and she manages to do whatever she needs to do, he leaps, and now their sensitive douche is talking to Ben's former disappointed fiance. And this again, worse than Young and the Restless, worse than The Bold and the Beautiful. He already, at the beginning of the last two episodes, "Oh, I need time. Oh, do you have space? Do you need time? I need time. I need space. Oh, but what about time and space? Yes, I need more time and space. But wait, if we go into the future, we won't go into the past. But we can't dwell in the past. What about our future?" Shut the F up. Nobody cares. Nobody effing cares about this crap. Shut up. I just see these two looking at each other, and it's just nonsense. And then at the end, she said, "You've been," and then there's some of the dumbest dialogue ever committed, I think, to screen. She says to him, I don't think I can be with you anymore. I think this thing is permanent. Now we got to go our separate ways." So then he goes, "It was fate. It was fate that I met you. It was a fate that I was together with you. And it was our fate that we need to break up now." Dude, no man talks like this. There's no man in the universe that speaks this way. You know what I mean? This, I don't know who speaks this way. I don't even know if there's anybody in the world, any human being in the world that speaks this way. Definitely not a man. You know what I mean? What's he become, a spiritual philosopher now? A sensitive douche? Between all of his being in charge of the Pentagon, in charge of the DOD, investigating the investigator of the DOD, in charge of Quantum Leap. He's in charge of everything. This guy is like the top guy in the army. Anyhow, a cringe-worthy scene, just crap that highlights how crappy this show is. They do whatever they do. they caress each other and look at each other's eyes, whatever. And then this is also another terribly written scene. Basically, it's supposed to be a surprise, quote unquote. Although anybody that knows anything already knew this surprise was coming. Uh, I knew it from maybe the first 5 minutes of this episode. I knew exactly where this is going. Basically, at the end, because they want the head of somebody, chief security officer lady is annoyed because she thinks that she'll get laid off because random office guy person is so important to the program because he wears the fanciest dresses and they just don't want to see him to go. Do you see him go? So at the end, in a twist, in what appears that he's firing her, it actually turns out that he's the one stepping down. Never mind that everybody talks to this guy. Nobody talks to this man like as if this is a military base or if this guy is an admiral that they're supposed to show respect to. They talk to him like they're at a coffee shop and he's their barista. That's how they talk about him every episode here. And the fact that they made him this season, he's an alcoholic and that he keeps drinking and that he needed their help because he's just a miserable bum. They could not have been more disrespectful to the character, to the actor, to the show, to anything. Anyhow, at the end of the day, Magic tells her, listen, I'm heading, I don't want to be, I'm going to be, they're going to have my head. You guys can stay here and I'll take responsibility and I'm going to go. And then, of course, this is a big shocking moment for her. And I guess this is where this terrible episode ends. Oh, what a terrible episode! What really, really? I mean, it's as if they only seem to get worse. Now, now before we go into this, I just wanted to share one other thing with you, which is very interesting because people often ask me, "What about the future of the show?" So let's look let's look at some numbers here. This show had a series low series. I mean, the quote unquote sequel series, 1.3 million people tuned in with an zero point 0.1 demographic. This is the lowest this show has ever performed. And considering that it's right before a season 2 finale, that this isn't a good sign. The fact that they've doubled up and put both episodes of the finale in one evening, I really feel like they're trying to unload the show. As I mentioned in a previous stream, initially they gave it a better time slot because there was a writer's strike, and I think that that was the moment this show had a chance to really build an audience. And like I said, these producers got a very lucky break to get another season where they can course correct their mistakes, and they refused to even accept that they made mistakes. They just said, well, we got another season. That means we're great. No, you're not great. It was just NBC had a shortage of shows. There was all these issues, and at the end, you lucked out that you got another season. Didn't even make the best of it. If you look at a show like Breaking Bad, initially it was kind of right out the gate, really didn't find a big audience. But then there was a strike, and I feel like Vince Gilligan really spent the time to refine what he was doing, he wanted to do with the show. And by the time they came back, they really came out swinging. So that's a situation where people that are passionate about their project really take some kind of opportunity like this and use it to the full potential. But in this case, these guys, these are not writers. They're not professionals. Many times in life, you say, "Well, I think I can do better," and even though you say that, you don't know if you can really do better. Sometimes I see a movie, maybe it's kind of mediocre, but people say, "Well, you didn't write this screenplay, you didn't direct it. There's still some stuff here. It's not like you could do any better." In this case, I can say 100%, I can do better. I could have done better than this crappy show. And really, it's not that I'm saying that I'm so great. I'm only saying it because it's done by people that don't care about this property, don't care about the franchise, don't know how to tell a story. And it's not even exclusive for me. I feel like the people in the chat now that I see you guys here, I feel like if any of you had anything to do with this show, it would also look better. Even if, let's say, somebody is a great writer, not a great writer, at least you have a few people that care about whatever it is that's happening, which I can't say for the team that's in charge now. I want to look at some comments from people here. First of all, we have Joshua Calkins. Oh, good, another QL suckfest. I will have to watch it tonight. Should be a fun cringe. It's really terrible. What was the point of sensitive douche anyways? Again, this is another one of those, and that's a comment from Ishmael. Again, the problem here is they don't have any point for anything. Their whole storytelling strategy is they introduce a bunch. This is the J.J. Abrams mystery box technique. You just introduce a bunch of mysteries. and you just figure at some point I'll solve the mystery. I'll make it work one day. So you start off a season. There's a chip. There's a secret chip that's doing something. You have sensitive douche. Um, who is he? What's he doing? You know what I'm saying? So we have these two aspects there, and they're thinking, well, throughout the season, we'll keep showing what's happening. Sensitive douche. It's a love triangle. He wants to marry her. He doesn't want to marry her. Days of our lives. In addition, the chip. This could be also tension. Tension within the team. It's suspense. It's mystery. But is it really? Is it really when you know that these guys have no idea what they're doing? It's not at all. So yeah, that was the point of this thing. Uh, Oh, yeah, at least it wasn't as bad as last week's show. That's what Tex says. You know what, Tex? It's sad, but you're probably right. This was a very, very bad episode. Yes, last week was probably even worse. I think that last week's was so bad. That's why this week the ratings dropped even more, because the few people that actually tuned into it and saw the lady from the 50s that want to put bandages on her, band-aids on her chest or whatever, I think that I think that some people checked out. They just said, you know what? I got other stuff to do. I got other stuff to do. Not the best use of my time. Uh, why didn't they do a leap where Ray jumps into sensitive to his younger days and develop the character? You know what? That was see, I was saying that people in this chat could do a better job. That would have been more interesting. That would have been something. You know what I mean? At least surprise us with some kind of that's a twist. That's not a J.J. Abrams. That's something. I mean, the thing is, they may still do it. Who knows? But I'm just saying, with their 2 episodes that they're left. But even if they did something like that, they do it. Even if finally somebody comes up with half an idea, they don't execute it well. So even if they thought of it, they wouldn't have done it well. But this was a good idea, something that could have been an interesting thing to explore. Also, that guy was talking about the fact that he had a wife and the wife passed away. I personally thought, and maybe they'll still do it, I thought that they would make him a villain. Like his whole ploy here is that he actually wants to get his wife back or something like that. And I think that that would have been interesting depth to the character. But again, even if they introduce it next week in the last minute, they'll introduce that element or they'll do something like that, it'll just seem stupid. If that, like, there was no buildup for it, but I feel like they mentioned something about his wife already passing away and him not having enough time with her. That would have been interesting. Again, they're annoying weirdos. Let's see. File under T for trash. Yes. Okay. It was a dedication to a QL writer, Matthew Dale. I don't know who Matthew Dale is. I don't know if it was somebody from the new team. I don't know who that is, so I can't really say one way or another. Don't know the guy, don't know what he did. Don't want to speak ill of somebody, even though I don't like the writing on this show. So, getting close to under 1 million. Yeah, this is from Brian. Yes, this show, they gave it the benefit of the doubt. It basically, this show won the lottery. It won the lottery. It was a show that in its first season wasn't great, but NBC were having a shortage of shows, and they just said it's doing just squeaking by. We'll keep it. It was sort of on the bubble, yes or no, and they just said, you know what? Let's just give it more episodes. They didn't have anything else to put on, and it wasn't. It needed to do just a little worse for it to be canceled. So they're just like, you know what? Let's just keep it. And then they said, okay, you get a second season. There was a writer's strike. The writer's strike, that's the bonanza. If you're Quantum Leap, the writer's strike is the best thing that ever happened to you, because then instead of making a 10 p.m., they gave them an 8 p.m. slot because there were no other shows. So basically, the network has one show because yours started filming sooner. I don't remember what the deal was, why they started sooner to film, but they had some episodes in the can and they could have showed them. And nobody else had any shows. Those kind of Dick Wolf or whatever it is, those FBI Law and Order weren't ready. So they just said, okay, well, let's use this. We have some episodes of this. Now, had they actually done some real work and brought some real writers, imagine then you have something storytelling on the level of the original show. Maybe bring Deborah Pratt and let her do a little more, not just talk about diversity with the press, but actually, I'm not saying she needs to run a writer's room in her 70s, but I do think that she could at least be a consultant of sorts. They could have at least listened. I do not believe that Deborah Pratt, unless she's not in her right mind, I don't believe that what we're looking at is Deborah Pratt's advice on anything. I don't think Deborah Pratt would ever have those present day people. And anytime stories were told in the original show, they were just told much better. In any case, they had it was like winning the lottery, and got the best slot and best whatever, and they couldn't deliver because their show was crappy, and they couldn't even let the whole gender ideology stuff go. They already did that last season, and it's like, okay, you did your thing. You did it very poorly. You told a very poor story. You told it from a one-sided way. It was just political propaganda, and at the end, you get another chance here. And what do? You do more of it, make it even dumber. Anyhow, it's not looking good, folks. No, it's not looking good. And you know what? I don't want to jump the gun on it. But honestly, if they say that this thing doesn't get another show, that'll another series, another season, that'll be well deserved. These people do not deserve it. Week's show was awful by comparison. This was much better, but compared to the classic show, still very bad. This is what Tex Rogers says. Exactly. And I don't want to compromise. It's fine if, let's say, there was a baseline where a lot of these episodes were really great to watch, and then once in a while you have one that's a bit of a dud. I mean, in the original show, there's one that I think he's a vampire in London or something. Not going to lie to you, that's not an episode that I really enjoy. It's one that I can just say that I don't really like the episode. But you know what? Out of 95 episodes or whatever it is, so one is kind of out there and I don't really enjoy it. So what? But that's not the case here. Every single episode in this show is just crap. Ishmael says writer's room non-existent. I agree. Uh, let's see. Joshua Calkins, I won't ever watch this, only the reviews. That's bad enough. Ted Harrington, so will the show get canceled? Again, I think that it has more of a chance now of getting canceled than it ever did. The only thing that can save this show, I don't have access to the streaming numbers on Peacock. It's a streaming service that isn't very popular to begin with, and they don't have a lot to sell there. So maybe if they think that some people on Peacock are watching this show, maybe there's some kind of incentive for them to continue it. That's the only thing I can think of, because if it's built on the NBC ratings, this show is done. That's not going to save it. There's nothing that can save them with the ratings that they're getting on NBC in their broadcasts, or even that they collect after a few days, the DVD, whatever it is. None of that is going to help them. Only the streaming may help them. If for some reason people are binging, but you know what? I kind of doubt that they are. I have a lot of reviews that I've posted on all these episodes. It's not like I don't see this in the conversation that everybody's talking about it, unless it's a quiet audience of people that don't talk about what they see. It doesn't look like it to me, but stranger things have happened. At this point, if I had to say, I'm like 70-80% sure that it's going to get canceled, but giving it some weird, it was very lucky before, and maybe that streak of luck will continue for them, but they have to be really, really lucky for this to continue. It doesn't look good for them. Let's see. Price of Reason. She was the director on this show. Are you talking about Deborah Pratt? Yeah, I know she was a director on this show. I was saying that she didn't write the episode. She is the director on this show. They give her one episode a season to direct. So I guess in the first season she had an episode, and now in the second season she had an episode. Maybe that's part of her agreement. She goes along and says that they're very diverse and it's the best, most diverse thing that's ever happened to her. They let her direct an episode. They also cut her a check. She gets paid. She's in her 70s. She had a messy divorce from Donald Bellisario, the creator of the show. At the time, they worked kind of together as a husband and wife duo, but they had a messy divorce in which she, I think, felt that she didn't get the kind of compensation that she wanted. These days, she can make a check. When you're in your 70s and somebody's paying you this kind of money, you take the money. That's why I'm not upset at her. I'm not upset at Deborah Pratt. I have nothing bad to say about her. It's not her that took this show and made it this way. She's just some trinket they have that they like to shine around. Like I said, a type of human shield. Somebody criticizes it, says it's a agenda, it's the poor storytelling, poor whatever. Look at what we have. We have Deborah Pratt. We have the original person that was in one of the main writers, or the main writer of the original. We have her here, but again, it's a smokescreen. Anyhow, let me see just one comment maybe I missed. Like you said before, I didn't want this show to fail, but this is nothing close to what the original was, and that's sad. At this point, yeah, comment Deborah Pratt directed this show. I thought I said at the beginning, but again, you're right, Tex, and I touched upon that now. Like I said, even there was a scene here between Ben and that reporter that I thought was directed a little better than usual. But again, it's so little that it doesn't really matter because the writing is so bad. I also said I think that I don't know the actress that played the reporter. She seemed like a pretty decent actress. It seemed like she was somebody familiar that I've seen somewhere. Maybe Tex knows. I couldn't recall where I'd seen her. But if I had to give my evaluation, it seemed like she could be a good actress. If they wanted to do an episode that she was an actual reporter without them saying how stunning and brave she is every second, and without her weeping and saying what a weakling and all this weird crap, I think that that actress was fine. There was something that could have gotten done with her, but of course, this show doesn't know what it's doing. So, the Price of Reason. This was set in 1982, as was the classic. This is Tex Rogers. This was the classic QL show, Roberto. The show was also about pesticides. Yeah, a lot of times they look at the maybe somebody bothers to look at the original one. They try to swipe some idea, but of course, once they get done with the idea, it's just bad because they don't know how to do the basics of storytelling. In any case, we've talked about this episode probably for longer than it deserved. It was a terrible episode. Only, like what some people were saying here, including Tex, last week it was even worse. So yes, this episode was not as bad as last week, but it was very, very bad. And the worst part of it is the writing, which is absolutely terrible. Unacceptable for a network television show. This is people sometimes make fun of the CW. I feel like this show is below CW level writing, and you never want your show to be below CW level writing. That's really the bottom of the barrel. So you all have a great evening. I really appreciate that we all hung out here. I enjoy doing this. I think that we're building this nice community. Really enjoy doing that, and thankful for everybody that showed up. Also, I know there's a good amount of people that later watch these reviews. Sometimes they stumble upon them because any reviews you see are usually very positive. It's just people that actually have access to the show, so they just say how great it is. There's only a few of them, but there's a few that are like that. Many people, not many people take the time to actually do a real review. So I know some people discover it later and they enjoy it. And if you're listening later, I appreciate that as well. You all have a great weekend, a great Friday, a great night. I appreciate you all. And just one final comment. NBC is great at it. Night Court is at par with Quantum Leap. Night Court isn't good, but I'll say that this is worse. Quantum Leap is worse. Night Court, it's sort of a problematic idea to begin with. They only have John Larroquette, but they don't let him behave like he was back in the day because everything is so kind of, for lack of a better word, it's politically correct today. Back in the day, he was this kind of womanizer. He was more like sleazy and funny, and they don't tap into any of that. A lot of these actors are just no longer alive, and they don't know what to do with them. So the show feels like they're just trying to capitalize on the brand. But they don't really give you much to work with. I still feel that Night Court is less insulting than Quantum Leap. Quantum Leap is the ultimate insult. Night Court, once you don't have the guy that played Harry, you don't have Bull, you don't have this, you don't have that. What are you going to do? You don't have Mac, you don't have Marky Post. I mean, there was an ensemble cast there that really did a lot of improv and brought something to life together with a great team. And that's a sort of lightning in a bottle situation that you have this great chemistry between people that no matter how hard they try, they can't bring that together in this new Night Court, which is trying to sort of capitalize on that show. The Quantum Leap doesn't even, aside from throwing Sam and Al's name from time to time, they don't really do much of anything. Just a crappy show. So yeah, I would argue Quantum Leap is worse, but I digress. Thank you all for coming out. I appreciate it. I wish you all a great evening and a great weekend. And if you enjoyed this stream, you can also add comments in addition to the live stream if you want to write something. I check these comments later. Really always happy to hear your input. So you guys have a great night, and I'll see you soon.